that should be counted stolen with me.
He says, if you come into my herds and you see any flock that is not speckled, or spotted, he says, it is stolen. Read.
And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the heath goats that were ringed, straked, and spotted, and all the she goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons.
So Jacob had the spirit of an entrepreneur. And a lot of times if you're going to come into a situation with no money, you've got to have wisdom in the place of money. You've got to have a strategy in the place of money. You have got to have heard from God on how you will get out with some wealth. Read.
And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks.
So it meant that all of the spotted and speckled and the brown lamb, because I really didn't know it was brown lamb, but I guess it was. All that which you despise. He says, I'll take that. And then what he did was, on top of that now, Jacob took he had taken all of that from Laban all these years, all of that deceit and hurt and all of the pain. And then on top of that, Laban went into his flock in front of Jacob and took out with the spotted and speckled, with that were already there, and left Jacob with hardly anything. But now Jacob could have gotten bitter. And see, when you're faced with a negative situation, you have a choice. You can either get bitter or you can get better. Getting bitter, it does not help you get to the place where God has called you to go. And a lot of times, the enemy uses offense to keep us in a cycle. Every time something happens, we get offended, and then it stops our blessing. But notice he kept offense out of his heart. He just kept going. See, because when you know that the blessing of Abraham is really up on you, it doesn't matter what somebody does to you. It doesn't matter what they take, because they can't keep it. It doesn't matter what they steal, they can't hold on to it. Because the blessing of Abraham will command it to come back into your house. I know folks who tried all kind of wicked stuff, but it ricocheted on them. Why? Because I'm praying that whatever hex, vex, all the wicked prayers, all that stuff, it goes right back into their faces, and they got to live with that thing. What did it say?
And Jacob took him rods of green poplar.
Now, Jacob had a strategy. He took rods, read.
Of green poplar.
Of green poplar.
And of the hazel.
And of the hazel.
And chestnut trees.
And the chestnut trees.
And peeled white strakes in them.
He peeled white spots in those branches. And see, what I can see is him taking a pocket knife and taking a branch and just cutting spots out of it. But now it would look like he was crazy, to an average person, but he had a strategy. And a lot of times when God gives you a strategy, you can't worry about trying to explain it or to somebody else because they not going to understand it anyway. Why? Because God was talking to you and not them. Read.
And made the white appear which was in the rods.
Read.
And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs.
Now what he did was he used the force of vision. And when the sheep and when the flock, when the goat went to drink water, it was also the place where they went to mate. And what Jacob did was he took those rods and he selected the strongest of the sheep, the strongest of the cows, the strongest of the herds. He went out and he selected him. And when they were drinking, he got right in front of them with a rod. While they were mating, what they saw overrode the laws of DNA. So it really doesn't matter what your mama and daddy was like if you keep looking at the speckled cross. That cross that was speckled and spotted with blood, the Savior's blood. If you just keep looking at the cross, you won't be anything like the folk you don't want to be like. He put those rods up there, and he was consistent with it. And a lot of us, we don't get the blessing is because we do the thing one day and we skip a day. But you don't know when conception takes place. And if you miss the force of consistency, that thing can be conceived on a day when you didn't have the rod up. Boy, this thing is so powerful. What did the word say?
And he set the rods.
He set the rod.
Which he had peeled before the flocks.
Which he had peeled before the flock.
In the gutters.
Read.
In the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink.
Read.
And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted.
See, the force of what they saw overrode what would have naturally been conceived. You had two solid color cattle who were producing spotted and speckled when it should have been solid. But see, what Jacob knew was that Laban was blind to the law of vision. You could be doing something right in front of that oppressor, and the oppressor never know what you're doing. See, that's why we all be praying in tongues every time we get an opportunity. Well, because we praying through with the vision right while the enemy is listening, but he can't understand it. Read.
And Jacob did separate the lambs.
He separated the lambs.
And set the faces, of the flocks.
Now look at this. He set the faces of the flock, which meant he left nothing to chance. And a lot of us leave too much to chance. A lot of us will let pray, Lord, you let the lamb look right at the rod. Lord, you let the lamb look right. No. He took that lamb's head and moved it. Said, no, you look right here. This is what you look at. he got involved in the conception process. He said, oh, no, you look right here and you look right at this rod. You look right here. Look right at it. Look right at it. Look right at it. While they were looking, it changed the chemistry of the DNA. And when you look at what God has called you into, it changes the chemistry of your own mind. It changes the chemistry inside your soul when you are vision oriented and not what I can see naturally oriented. Read.
And Jacob did separate the lambs and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring straight, and all the brown in the flock of Laban, and he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle.
Read.
And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters.
He was selective. He wasn't a kind of person who said, anything, Lord, any way you bless me, I'll be satisfied. No, he was specific. I want the strongest ones. I want the ones who are best, the ones who are better. Read.
And Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in.
Look at that. Look at that. If a cattle was wobbling and weaving, half blind, couldn't see, was anemic, he moved that rod away. So I don't want that one. And a lot of us good Christians, we say, no, you don't want to get rid of the weak ones. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. What did it say?
So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's.
The feeble ones were Laban's. He gets all of the anemic cattle. Read.
And the stronger
Jacob's. Stronger were Jacob's.
And the man increased exceedingly.
And the man increased how much?
Exceedingly.
Read.
And had much cattle, and maidservants, and men servants, and camels, and donkeys.
Jacob was blessed because of the blessing of Abraham. Let's go to Genesis, the 25th chapter.
Please turn to Genesis chapter 25, verse 23. Genesis chapter 25, verse 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels.
Look at this. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger, which meant that in Jacob's situation, Jacob was already promised the blessing. He really didn't have to take it from Esau. When God's hand is on your life, it's not because of something that you did. When God's hand is on your life, it's because he saw you in your mother's womb and he just had favor on you. He just said, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to cause the blessing to get to this person. It doesn't matter what it costs. If somebody to go around another way, it's going to happen. You don't worry about it. You just get a strategy from heaven. And the force of vision. See, there is a force of vision that will cause the blessing to come into your house when the enemy was right there trying to steal it. Look at Jesus' ministry. He had Judas holding the bag. Judas was a thief and was stealing. But notice that the blessing of Abraham was upon Jesus. And it was never missed. But now you better not steal from this bag. But notice how when the blessing of Abraham is upon you, nobody can really hurt you. Well, they can curse you out, but they only get, I got to curse me out one time. Because by the time they get the first word out, I'm going to be going the other way. And they could say anything they want to say. But when the blessing of Abraham is on you, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter what they do. It's going to roll off for you. And you're going to walk in your promise. I guarantee you, if you keep the vision strong in your eyes, you're going to walk into the blessing in a way like nobody else can understand. Oh, God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this time. We ask you